Hello there. You're listening to Linda Pinizzato of the Condo Expert, and we're talking about websites. Now we're going to start getting into more detail about computers, because today we have Derek Thomas, the CEO and owner of IT Mayday, and he's actually the IT director as well of the Condo Owners Association. Derek, can you help us out? Because, there's so many property managers out there. I know you deal with a lot of different condominiums.
Yes, I do.
And how are you finding it? When it comes to everyday operations is one thing, but the back end, are you finding that a lot of the property managers are very challenged with the systems that they're working with?
Actually, yes, I do. Because one thing I do notice with working with all these property management companies and being on one board of director myself, or actually a couple board of directors, when the building is built and the company puts in a computer system or computer systems, usually it's something that is really cheap and quick and dirty and easy. And what I do find after a couple of years is the property manager and the administrative staff, they have issues with their computer system because they find that it's really, really slow.
And that's interesting too, because if I go right down and we start from scratch, like for instance, in a new construction building. So in a new construction building, the property management company is already in that building. So because they've been contracted by the builder, as you know. So that's when the equipment is brand spanking new, but it's also at the early stages.
Yes.
So it just gets turned over to the corporation the way it is. And, unless that board knows somebody that can give them proper training or maybe, proper advice, they're kind of stuck with that system at that time.
Yes, and that's unfortunate. For myself, that is where I come in, because what I normally do is I would go in and assess the situation, and then I would make my recommendations as to where and what the prospective property management companies should do as far as IT equipment goes. Normally, we usually have to upgrade their computer system, whether it be a desktop or a laptop. And sometimes it even has to do with printers and copiers as well, too, because usually what's left for them when the building just starts up is very inadequate.
So that's actually a bit of a shout out to all those boards out there to pay attention to the office mechanism that's going on in the office. Get a professional in, call IT Mayday, get them to come in and take a look at it, because the builder is supposed to be providing them with relatively half decent quality materials, so at least they can get this corporation up and running. There's a lot of responsibilities in the building, especially at the beginning stages.
Mm-hmm. Definitely there is, and you do need proper IT equipment to get yourself up and running, because without that, basically the admin staff is just going to be tearing their hair out and getting frustrated, which I do see a lot of, unfortunately.
I would think too, because at that time they're not only dealing with the management of the office, but they're also dealing with a fair amount of warranty issues that could be coming to play as well. So it's doubling up on their work during that period of time. They need to have a functioning office. And that doesn't mean a printer that costs $50 and then the ink costs $50 a cartridge. I mean, I've seen that. If you depending on what you're purchasing, the actual materials that you then have to put into it. I mean, I've seen that. You see a printer on special and the special looks fantastic, but then you go out and try to buy the ink. Costs you like 3 times more than what the printer cost. That's not really functional.
Yeah, that is correct. And what they don't tell you is with the printer that you purchased, basically the cartridge that's in there, it's the starter cartridge.
Oh,
and,
no.
and what that is it gets you started. So you could probably print maybe 20 or 30 pages, and that's it. After that, then you have to go out and purchase a new cartridge. So the companies, even the salespeople within the stores, they don't give you all the information, and it's probably not their job to give you all the information anyways.
Well, another thing too would be like Wi-Fi, for instance. I mean, you can hook up like Wi-Fi services. I mean, a lot of these buildings have boardrooms, especially the boardrooms, the board of directors have to meet. So, they should be having, like, basically, I think that once the turnover meeting goes down, automatically a board should be stepping into a well-run, smooth machine operation of a property management office. And that doesn't seem to be the case. I mean, you've had all sorts of crazy experiences.
Actually, I have. Actually, I'll give you an example.
Yes, absolutely.
Especially with the respect to the Wi-Fi itself. A lot of when they put the buildings together and they put the what we call the wiring closet. The wiring closet is usually far away from where the office itself, the management office is, and also the boardroom. I've noticed that in a couple of occasions where in the buildings that I've supported, what happens is, they want to get Wi-Fi and they want to get Wi-Fi in the party room or something, but the closet itself where the hardware is stored, whether it be the router or whatever it is, it's quite a distance away from the party room. So what I've had to do is I've had to go in there, install what we call a Wi-Fi extender. Now, I'm sure a lot of your listeners out there probably don't know a lot about Wi-Fi extenders or if they even exist, because it's not something that you see on the internet or on TV all the time. But what Wi-Fi extenders are is they extend the range of your Wi-Fi within a certain distance. So what it does is you connect one end to your router and the other end, it goes the middle of where it needs to go. So what it does, it picks up that signal and it transfers it further. So I've had to do that a few times within condominium buildings that I've been into.
Yeah, because of the location of where it is. So it doesn't
Exactly.
give the frequency or the power, I guess, to go to that other location because it's too far.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Right.
The Wi-Fi signal, it can only stretch so far. They've got different ways to extend your Wi-Fi signal.
Mm-hmm.
The extenders are really your basic, the cheapest and easiest way to do it, and it's still functional.
I think one big thing, and I've heard you mention this as well, is that backups. I can't believe there's so many property management offices that do not have a backup of their computer.
Yes.
I would totally freak everybody out there. I have 3 backups because I just am terrified about losing my information. So, I mean, think about it. If they've got all this information there, they would be in deep trouble, wouldn't they, Derek, if they ended up losing everything because they don't have a backup in place?
Yes, Linda, you're correct. And one of the things, when it depends on the property manager and the property management company, but usually the property manager themselves, they haven't been educated enough with the computer systems and with the computers realistically to know that, they need a proper backup in place. What I've seen in the past is someone with a flash stick, and what they do is, every now and then I'll just copy some stuff on this, but that's not the proper way to go. What I've done is I've actually gone in for a few of my clients, and we've gone in and set up a proper backup solution, and that's what the word solution means. What it does is it gets you whether it be tapes. Or I've seen incidents where people have used CDs and DVDs. No, that's used to be the old days, and then you'd have to do things manually. These days, what we do is we make sure things are done automatically. So that includes an external hard drive or a couple of hard drives and a proper backup application. What that does is it makes your backup process automated. So we could schedule it to run weekly, monthly, every day if you want. But as with what I've found is for most property management companies, they don't require to have a backup run every day. Normally enterprises do. So what we do is we would configure the backup to run weekly. So on a Saturday, the backup will run for a few hours. When the property management comes into work on Monday, what they could do is take the hard drive and move it to a different location, because that's usually what a backup is. So just in case of a fire or whatever it is, you could restore from your backup that's off-site. Now, if you're doing a backup and we've configured it and it's doing the backup of your system, but you're not removing the hard drive itself and moving it off-site, then it becomes null and void, because if something happens, say a fire or the building falls on, heavens forbid, then both your primary source of data and your backup is in the same location. So it's best practice to move the backup off-site.
Absolutely. Otherwise, you're just going to lose both things at the same
Exactly.
time. And it doesn't seem much point to that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Well, I was thinking actually as you were speaking is that some people, okay, I mean, a lot of property managers may be keen on using scanners. Others are still into the old fashioned conventional fax machines. And then, of course, with faxes, you have to print and, you're trying to be cost effective. So, trying to be cost effective, Derek, I'm sure that your company could implement a system in that property management office where, to some degree, you could almost be paperless. Other than reports that might have to go out to the condo owners and residents in the building, but even that, you could develop a system whereby you'd have their email addresses. So cost-wise, it would be very functional. So how would you then put together like your scanners and your printers, fax machines, for instance, that would all generate and go back to their computer system? I mean, there's programs out there for that kind of thing.
Well, there is, and what's that called? It's called consolidation. Now, with respect to the fax machine and scanner and printers, that's what you would need for that is a what they call a multifunctional copier. Now, what that does is it's not your standard little MFP that you could purchase in Staples or Best Buy or whatever. These are the big office type machines, and what they do is they can receive your fax. You could scan in your documents into it, and then that goes onto a file itself within your particular network or your computer. Now, doing this, what that does is actually it could render your system paperless. So once you scan it into your system, then it automatically files it itself, because what it does is you can file it by day, month, year, or document. So then this way, your search mechanism, then once you do your search, you'll be able to retrieve your documents much more faster.
And I think that would make a tremendous difference because, there's so many out-of-country investors that have bought into condos now. And, it would be likely, I mean, it could be a possibility where a condo owner, say in China, 12 hours difference, now all of a sudden, they've decided that they're going to fax something over to the property management office for whatever reason. That paperwork has to sit there. It's not really the safest thing in the world. It's better for it to just get electronically directly into the system, wouldn't it?
Yes, it is. So with that saying itself, faxing really it's a technology that's here, but it's on its way out. Most people are using emails now, and what they do is they scan the document and then it just goes directly to their email, and it just sends it to whomever they want. So there's automated systems out there, even with the copier, where the copier you could scan it and you could scan to an email. So instead of it sitting locally on your local network, it just scans to an email and the recipient receives it right away once you scan it. So, but there's still a lot of companies out there that do faxing, but it's actually an old technology.
Well, I think the key thing here would really be it sounds like it needs to be modernized all through the condo world in a lot of these property management offices, that's for sure, just basically by what you've been saying. You're speaking right now, about the internal mechanisms within the offices. What we want to get into is websites, because I think that promotionally, maybe for a building, and we'll come back and we'll chat more about websites, designs, and ideas. You've been listening to Derek Thomas, and he's with IT Mayday, also Director of IT with the Condo Owners Association. Derek, thank you. You've given so many different internal ideas. Property managers out there, seriously, pay attention. Maybe give Derek a quick call, because certainly if your systems aren't functioning properly, neither is the condo building. And that is something to think about. Listen to Linda Pinizzato.